Now, when you think of mage, I feel like this is probably what the majority of people picture. And when you think of probably one of the highest hitting one-hit damage melee weapons on the game, you probably envisage something like this. However, left-click mage in dungeons dictates that these two things can be mixed. I've always been intrigued by people who play left-click mage, and when I'm in my own world teleporting around with my Hyperion in dungeons, not really knowing what I'm doing, and then you left-click and you shoot a mage beam and you don't really do a lot of damage, but then you realise that people can do a lot of damage, you know? Kind of makes me a little bit curious as to see what it's like. Now, I admittedly had absolutely no clue where to start, so I watched a couple of different guides on YouTube, and I watched Future 7 deal like 150 million damage per hit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not under the illusion that I'm gonna deal anywhere near this amount of damage. Everything that I've watched or read has basically said that you need a high kata level. Apparently, it's possible to left-click mage without a high kata level, but most people just don't. So that's going to be an issue. I don't really care though, I just want to try it out. And yes, I am aware that left-click mage is absolutely reliant on Catacombs level as opposed to anything else. Still going to try it. Now, what armor do you use? Well, I guess there's a little bit of debate. I watched a few videos, but they were quite old, saying that you could use a Warden helmet, but supposedly that's outdated. Now, there's people who use golden heads and also diamond heads, but I don't really know what floor I'm going to play, and I'm thinking I might test out a few different floors, so I got a storm helmet. All of the armor is ancient, is not the greatest storm armor in the world, but it could be worse. I also went ahead and bought this Dark Claymore. It's got Soul Eater 5, Sharpness 6, you know, some decent enchantments here and there. Now, but I mean, what absolutely is kind of confusing about left-click mage is even though you are a mage, pretty much all of your damage relies on crit damage and strength, and intelligence as well. But a regular mage would never rely on strength or crit damage. Which means that you're actually better off not using something like Bazaar at all, because you need that buff of strength and crit damage. And ours could be better, but they also could be worse. We're going to be using a Golden Dragon. I guess in higher floors, if you actually play it properly, then you probably have issues with survivability with the G-Dragon. Might need to use something different, but we're just going to see what happens. If it's a bit underwhelming, I might look at maybe a Golden Head. The Diamond Head is a little bit out of the budget. It's actually been quite a while since I've had a Claymore, and they've dropped in price a lot, to be completely honest. Like, it's actually not that bad anymore. Anyway, let's do it. Well, before we do, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS. It gets yourself 5% off. Also, you should subscribe to the channel. If you watch the videos and you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so. You should join the Discord server. It's linked in the description of this video. We offer slaves and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. Oh, wait, hold up. This is actually a lot of damage, right? I wasn't expecting... Huh? So, we seem to be dealing between 70 and 80 million, which is actually pretty damn good. Considering this is just floor 6 as well, I guess we could probably deal even more damage if we kind of go up the floors. Plus, I do realise that no one's ever really going to use this setup on floor 6. It's kind of pointless because you could just, you know, RCM just as easy. Plus, you quite simply just don't need to deal this much damage. It's just unnecessary. Alright, we're going to go into a Master Mode 3 and see if we deal any more damage. Now, we don't have Master Stars on anything, it must be said. Oh, we definitely deal more damage. Yep, between 90 and 95 million, which is pretty damn ridiculous. What I will say is, we're essentially made of glass at this point. We deal a lot of damage, but we're very fragile. Yeah, to be fair, you should probably should have had my Hyperion out so I could right-click, get the absorption and stuff like that. Anyway, okay, we're gonna go into an M6. Not under the impression that I'm gonna be able to complete it, of course. I just want to see a high number. And like all Hypixel Skyblock players, we like to see funny high numbers. Okay, I feel like we're pretty close to doing 100 million damage, even if it's just, you know, once. Oh my god, we definitely can. 89, 100k. Okay, do you see it? It said 100 million. Like I said, I am like a glass cannon at this point. Yeah, our EHP is basically 250k, but at the same time we can deal over 100 million damage, so that's lovely. Can we deal any more? I did actually see a 123 mil just a second ago. Oh my god, I mean, it is like playing, you know, Call of Duty story mode on veteran mode if you've ever played it, where you can't get hit or else you die, but that's besides the point. I guess this is a prime example of why you don't really probably try to do this at Kata 36. It's kind of silly. But I would most definitely be able to get away with it in lower floors in Master Mode. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and buy a diamond sedan head to see if we can up our damage anymore. I thought it would be more expensive than 100 mil, if I'm being honest. That's why I said before I'm probably not going to be able to afford it, but turns out I can. So we're going to swap out our storm helmet. I mean, this has got wisdom and then this doesn't, but we should be fine. After all, this is going to double our stats on floor 6, so yeah. I wonder if this has actually helped our EHP. That would be interesting to see. Oh, actually, substantially. We're now on 326k. But we now do seem to be able to deal kind of consistently more damage. And most hits are around about 120 million. If we can actually just demonstrate that. Yeah, there we go. So that's nice. Yeah, I mean, the higher floor is not viable for me at all, but it's pretty cool to see those numbers. Now, the interesting thing is I have a very mediocre setup. It's very, very, very mid. It doesn't have master stars. Of course, I'm a ridiculously low cast level to even be doing LCM. Imagine how much damage someone with a good setup and high kata can actually do, because that's kind of scary. I've heard of people being able to do integer limit kind of damage, which is crazy. Over 1 billion, over 2 billion. Now, I will say, having this LCM setup, it definitely would have some drawbacks. If you really did invest a lot of money into it, then you're very, very limited for kind of what you're using it for. Where else in the game is it optimal to have an ancient storm setup? Or just a storm helmet? I mean, it's probably not optimal anyway at all to have a storm helmet. But I guess in this case, it would be better to have the storm helmet than with the goggles. What I would say is it's actually quite nice to see something like a Dark Claymore. I mean, it's just a straight up melee weapon. It really is. It doesn't even have a right click ability, but the fact that it's actually usable for something else other than just straight up melee is quite nice to see, really. It is good for melee, and it does have the highest swing range of any weapon on the game, which is kind of cool. But I guess it's always just kind of been expensive for what it is. Now, quite obviously, the barriers to entry to LCM actually are very high. First of all, you really need a high kata level. I think I heard the between the figure of like 42 and 45 for it actually to be viable. I think 42 might even be a bit low, but you need to be high 40s, if not 50, which is obviously very time consuming. And then, of course, all the gear. LCM's mainly used in master mode, so you're going to need master stars in all of your gear. You're going to need to make sure that you can survive. It is tough. But realistically, the damage that you can deal is kind of unmatched. It is insane. Even with my trash setup and trash kata level, we're still able to do over 120 million damage. Granted, I couldn't really survive in those higher floors. But anyway, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.